The movie industry is among the world's most important businesses, and demand for high-quality video keeps growing both from consumers, from the creative industry, who are looking to push movie-making boundaries and maximize the cinematic experience. Now, we've grown accustomed to excellent images, haven't we? Whether you're watching your favorite show on HD TV or just playing videos on your smartphones, the pictures are crispier and brighter than they were before. But projecting onto the big screen presents unique challenges because laser projection is now the technology of choice across the cinema industry. The improvement in presentation quality is being widely enjoyed by audience across the world and redefining premium cinema experience. Regardless of building new cinemas or in need of revamping your existing ones, there certainly is a laser journey that can reinforce your strategy. And now, to take us through this journey, please join me in welcoming on stage Mr. Nico de Clercq, Director, Commercial Strategy, Cinionic and Barco. Can we please welcome him on stage with a huge round of applause?
Welcome to my session, Plotting Your Laser Guide, a guide's tip. Thank you for joining right before lunch, so we'll hopefully make it your while before you get some well-deserved food. So, plotting your laser guide, your laser path, a guide's tips. So, if I'm going to call myself a guide, I owe you at least an introduction as to why I think I may be a proper guide for you in this laser journey. So first, for me personally, I am a commercial engineer by education, and my whole career I've basically translated business questions, business strategies into workable solutions. Prior to joining Barco Cinema, it was mostly as a business analyst, as a consultant, looking at sales and marketing questions for big enterprises, basically translating, for example, in things like CRM systems. So I've always been a bit of a bridge between the strategy and the practical, between the business and the engineers. So I've joined Barco in 2011 in the cinema team. So this is around the time, the slide is a bit much. This is around the time that the Series 2 projectors came out that really propelled Barco right in the front of the cinema industry. So ever since, I've been directly, indirectly involved with cinema and I've enjoyed the ride thoroughly, I must say. So the last few years, I've been responsible for a team which is called Commercial Strategy. So commercial strategy, what we do as a team, we're a bit of the, again, consultant to the big exhibitors as they're facing their big challenges facing the coming years. And then particularly what we call the renewal wave. So there was a big digitization, as you most likely know, mostly 2011, 2012, and VPF really triggered analog to digital. At the time, it was a technology push, really. But now they really have time to think about it. And it's not just, okay, we just need to go analog to digital. It's really thinking about what is your strategy? What does that mean for your audience experience? What does that mean for your several screens? Out of all the technology options which are out there today, it's much more than it was at the time. What is the right one for your audience experience? How fast do you roll it out? Which one do you do first? How do you finance it? There's a whole host of complex questions facing exhibitors today, and we're trying to be a good sparring partner for them in it. So that's a bit what I've been focusing with my team the last few years. Now, my last one, I work on the global stage, but kind of almost coincidentally, I've rolled into India, so I have coming here since the start of Big Cine Expo, and thanks to the organization who always puts up fine pictures on their website, I've been able to kind of see the progress of age over the last 3 years. So this is me from 2016 and the last few years. So I've come quite accustomed to the India atmosphere, so I hope to marry the two today, the commercial strategy background and my understanding of the India marketplace, and something meaningful for you, for your laser journey. Cinionic, I'm still putting it together with Barco, but Cinionic, what is Cinionic? I've only briefly touched upon it last year when I was here on a panel. So Cinionic is a dedicated cinema company put together by those three companies on the right. So those three companies, they all have a whole set of technologies and capabilities in terms of laser technology, media servers, premium content running, and what's so on. So that's what we get as a platform. It's under the hood of Cinionic. that we have all in-house. We're the face to the market for these 3 companies. But we need to be more. I just told you what the challenges are of exhibition in this marketplace. So we're not just selling technology. We really need to think, what is the experience, what is required, how are we going to make you profitable? So that is the mission of Cinionic. Now, Cinionic, like I said, it has a strong foundation to build on. We're very blessed with very strong partners, with very strong shareholders. And just in numbers, so there's about 180,000 screens in the world, give or take. 85,000 of those have been rolled out with the Barco technology. So that's roughly 45% of everything which installed, of about half, if you look at the last few years, which has been installed over been that technology. That's a great platform that's also allowed certain types of investment that I will talk about later on. We've enabled 15,000 laser projectors, 15,000, that's a huge number. So we've been in the market, like the first rollouts were 3 years ago with Clercq in the Netherlands, and the number is getting bigger and bigger. There's also a very big part of the media server business, of course a bit less relevant here. We have the strong partners with Cube and GDC, of course, but on the global platform there's also 20,000 media servers rolled out that we can build on. All laser complexes, a trend which has started with our portfolio. There's about 600 plus of those. To be honest, it's becoming a bit of an estimate. We're losing track. There's so many, we're actually not counting them anymore. So it's already becoming a bit of an estimate. Across the shareholders between Appertronic, CGS, and Barco, there's over 1,000 engineers working on all the technologies. It's a huge platform to build on. And we're global, but we have a very local reach. And as Madhu is here, and May, and tomorrow we'll have Rajiv, I have a very strong local team here as well. So I'm here, not as much as these guys. These are the guys that are definitely going to enable your business every day. I've talked about the partnerships. So the partnerships, of course, of our shareholders I talked about are referred for the guys who are actually delivering the solutions. But in the middle, of course, if you have roughly half of the market, we're talking to nearly all of the big players out there. A lot of them are really our exclusive partners, like Cinepolis, Cinemark, Kinepolis, and so on. So it really gives us the privilege of having these conversations, really getting the learnings and translating it into our technology, into our conversations with you. Of course, here locally, we're also very proud partners of PVR, of Inox, of Mirage, of Cinepolis. So, and if anybody of those customers is here, again, thank you for the trust, and we're going to work every day to keep that trust. We're very proud of being your supplier. Now, that's all fun and well. That's kind of our background, but why is that really the trend of the industry? Why is it really adopted? So I'm going to show you a slide I made the first time here 3 years ago when we just started, and it's updated since because we've learned the technology has evolved. So there's three big kind of blocks of why the industry is moving to laser. So first is the ease of use, and that argument alone has been enough for some exhibitors to really say, okay, laser, that makes sense. Right? So the ease of use, it means, of course, everything lamp-related goes. Everything which comes in variability and insecurity with lamps and overrunning lamps and the risk, it's all gone. You don't need to stock it, need to buy it, it's all gone. There is 2D, 3D switching. I mean, lamps have the inherent problem that you can only dim it so far. So if you're interested in 3D, you always have to choose either your 3D is too dark or your 2D is too bright. That's gone with laser. You can dim it really down to the right level and get it exactly foot lamberts on screen that is necessary to get to the DCI standard. So there's also all sorts of ease of use questions. There's a lot less maintenance, a bit depending on which laser platform you choose for, but let's say the very latest, which I will be presenting here, you actually have to maintain it. Well, you have to do maintenance like 4 times less, for example, right? It's a huge number. Training for your operators less. So there's a whole host of things which just makes it a lot easier to operate your cinema. The second big bullet, of course, image quality. Laser raises the bar. Again, it depends a little bit on the technology, on the implantation, but what they all have in common, it's constant. It does not have the variability of lamps, and it is uniform. So it doesn't have the drop-off on the sides. It looks a lot brighter. In terms of how it performs of colors, contrast, there's some variation, but generally, most laser technology, and definitely in our host, will really give it a boost. And you sometimes, depending on the solution, and I will get into it, you can even kind of boost on the brightness side. A very powerful option that I will get into a little bit later. So it's very easy. The quality, of course, is better, but let's not kid ourselves. Down the line, you have to pay for it. So there's a lot of cost reductions that will enable you to really invest in this technology. Of course, lamps, same for all laser technology. Lamps are gone. You know what you pay for lamps. That's already one saving that you can put in a box. Second one, which used to be a bit of a secondary one, but it's actually becoming more and more prominent, is the energy cost. I mean, also here in India, energy costs are rising and continuing to rise. The energy efficiency of lasers going up. So actually, how much you can save in the energy part of things sometimes even exceeds the lamp part of things. Those are the two main and kind of easily calculated blocks. There's of course a lot of gains in HVAC, so the air conditioning part. There's less energy consumption in the projector, so it's less warm, so you don't need to extract that much air. So if you can balance your air conditioning system, there's again savings. If you're in the cinema construction phase of your cinema, you can even do some clever construction bits. I will not go into detail because I know I'm chucking a lot of information at you guys, but there's also there construction savings that you can make. All these things are only as good, of course, as how long you can benefit from them. The lifetime in laser is absolutely crucial. There's a lot of talk and there's a lot of things on specs on paper and tables, but in the end, it's really about understanding the technology well for your case and the business case that you have in mind to really make sure that you reap these benefits for the business case that you have in mind. So, all these elements together, that's really why the trend is laser, why big chains, well, the whole industry really makes this conversion. Now, I was talking about your laser journey, so I want to look at it from your perspective, not from perspective from exhibitors with thousands of screens. I'm looking at it from just one screen, your journey. So let's say this is your trajectory. Typically, if you say the trajectory, a bit from a projection technology perspective, you're talking about 10 years, give or take, depending on quite a few things. It depends a little bit on if you're going to stretch it beyond or before the 10 years on the environmental conditions. Not an unimportant point here. You have sometimes challenging environments here. You have the humidity, you have the dust. That's of course a big factor. The technology advances, after 10 years, I mean, sometimes technology gets obsolete. The modularity, depending on how modular the equipment is that you choose, you can sometimes easily really extend the life. That's something I will talk about a little bit later on as well. Depends on your audience expectation. At some point after 10 years, they might want something different, something more bright. So your sense of risk once you start over in 10 years. There's a whole host of things, but 10 years typically is a good yardstick. Sometimes you go over, sometimes a bit shorter. It really depends. Most business cases that we work on tend to be 6 and 10 years, but the investment horizon is for the exhibitors that we work on. So this is your 10-year trajectory. The easy one is you're at the start of it. That's quite straightforward. You're building a new cinema. You are converting your existing one with multiple screens, which you do quite often here in India. Or you move from E to D. You get to the what is sometimes called 2K here, right? You move from the the Indian content only to also Hollywood content. So you're investing in a new projector. That's quite easy. You invest in a projector, and I can talk to you some points as to what you have to look out for. But what if you're already operating, your projector is already there, you're way beyond, not close to the 10 years, for example. Okay, if you're at the end, it's easy. Okay, again, it's time to look at a new projector. But there's also a big option here in the middle. Actually, you can leverage your existing investment and give it a new life, changing the light source and really propelling you into the laser age. There's a bit of a gap in between, let's say. What we see, I'm not sure if it's feasible for all of you as a chain, but what we quite often see as a tactic is that people will move the projector around. So rather than riding it out, you will move the projector to a more rural side, to a smaller screen, or you sell it off. So you move it and then you put a new one on top. That's also what we quite see. So basically, depending on where you are in the stage, there's likely a path for you. So, whoops, that was a bit quick. I'm going to focus on the blue parts first, and then on the green part second in terms of the kind of options that you have. So first, in terms of the blue, you're investing in a new projector. Time check. All right. I'll have to move a bit quicker. The portfolio that we have at Cinionic, 22 projectors. Because of the market presence that we have the privilege of really investing back in the portfolio, and it's a portfolio that really does not have its equal in the industry. At the very top, the flagship premium ones. At the bottom, the mainstream ones. Let's say you have to read it from left to right in terms of brightness, from bottom to top in terms of mainstream and more premium. In the premium end, it's something I will not talk about today, but we have a CGS PLF solution as well. It's also laser. It's not the focus of my topic, but if it tickles your interest to be having the keys over your own PLF, either with your brand or a branded solution, which is NTHX, come talk to us afterwards, but that's not the focus. Here is just the equipment. So at the very top, across this portfolio, by the way, we have all technologies in-house. It's either RGB or laser phosphor or the variations of it. Both of these technologies have their different trade-offs, and we use it where it makes sense. At the very top, it's the flagship one. It's already powering many PLF solutions in the world. There's many here in India as well. I understand the biggest screen in India is opening this week with the one at the top right, the 60L, which is with Cube and their Epic brand, which is at V-Celluloid Cinemas, just an hour and a half drives out of Chennai. So that's quite a huge accomplishment, and kudos to the cinema and to Cube on this one. At the bottom, it's our mainstream portfolio. That's the one which has been in the market with many years. That's the one which is really driving those big numbers of laser adoption. A lot of big chains in the world have adopted it, done the all laser sites, and are keeping rolling out cinema sites with them, like AMC, Cineworld, National Amusement, Cinepolis, you name it. But today I will focus on those 4 new babies in the middle, which is Series 4. That's one you haven't heard about yet. So Series 4 is a new platform, so I want to talk shortly about it. Series 4 is, let's say, the 4th in the series. The Series 1 projectors, you know, the Series 2 projectors, you know. Series 3 is not a projector, it's kind of an electronics integration, which caused some confusion in the market, so let's just call it Series 4, also because it's conveniently all 4K. So Series 4, as a naming, made a lot of sense to us. It's completely made for cinema. It's not a derivative from anything else. It's based on our conversations with the exhibitors, and it's conceived only for cinema. So what does it bring you? Of course, hopefully you still remember those bullets, right, in terms of ease, image quality, and costs. In terms of image quality, it's 4K RGB. Of course, it performs very well in terms of uniformity of colors and so on. It uses, as a first in the industry, the Texas Instrument, the TRP chip, which is tilt and roll. Those who've seen the inside of a projector on the DLP side knows it's like these chips with these tiny, tiny mirrors, like one mirror for each pixel. This is the next generation, rather than the pixel goes like on-off. It kind of tilt and rolls, TRP. That makes for much smaller chips. It makes for a much smaller projector. So it kind of uses as a first the next generation of this TI technology. Important point here also is the AIM, the Barco AIM Active Image Management. All technologies like SN laser, they have their trade-offs. In RGB, it's speckle. Speckle is a bit of a sparkly experience when you have RGB in combination with certain screens, definitely high gains, and we've learned a lot from the flagship lasers, which are RGB, which put in the market many years ago, and Barco patented technology to really deal with it. And I can say from the test we see the big boys do with all the screens that this is actually a big differentiating point. It is a mainstream projector. Like in my chart, it was sitting in the middle, but it's ready for the future. It's ready for the high frame rates, 120 frames, 4K. It's ready for immersive sound, high dynamic range, which can be part of the solution of the future. Of course, REC 2020, all that. So definitely in terms of future-proofness, safe bet. Energy, big differentiator. There's a lot of variability in energy consumption. I'll show you some numbers in terms of dollars. But this one, in the end, it only matters on what you pay in your bill of the energy and the kind of light you get in the end. We can have a lot of endless debates about technology and inefficiencies, but in the end, how much energy you pay and the light that comes out of it, that's all that matters. This one does 9.5 lumens, it's 9.5 lumens per watt. I always have to get my head right. And in Xenon, it's about 4 to 5, right? So it kind of cuts it in half. Very specific to this platform is the sleep mode. So you can put this projector to bed. And by the way, this projector you can see at the Cube booth. You can put it to bed at 3 watts at night. You can ingest it and wake it back up. 3 watts is nothing, right? So you can really put it to sleep. It still works, and you just open up next day either remotely if that's something you're unable to, or the projectionist can do it. Again, in terms of other than saving it and then letting it run, a big saving. All right. Fit and forget. I talked about modularity that influences your lifetime. Barco has always been very strong in modularity of their projectors. It goes a step further with this one. Actually, the light source is modular. So the light source in this machine has laser plates. So on the red, green, and blue, there's actually individual plates you can buy to either at the end extend it a bit more or during the lifetime boost it. So it is a very powerful one to really safeguard your investment, or either kind of go for different scenarios if your audience experience, if you want something different. It's designed for bootless. If anybody here is looking for bootless, it's of course more compact because of this TRP chip. But it also has 4 times less maintenance. In the Hutchbox, it only does 35 decibels. And very important, I think here for India, it can withstand up to 40 degrees Celsius. So generally, high temperature and laser is a bad idea for any laser technology. It always reduces the lifetime. But this particular one is very robust. Again, it will not stop when it goes over the 30 or getting close to 40, it can go up to 40. Don't do it, always avoid it. But the show will go on, right? You go up to 40 degrees Celsius. So quite, again, an important from an Indian perspective. So here we have it. That's the portfolio. Four machines, a whole lumen scale from the 12 to the 25. The only thing I'll say, lumens is not everything anymore. That's not the. It's kind of an outdated measurement to really select the right projector for your screen. Lumens is a bit of a xenon way of looking at things. The way you need to look at it is you want a certain foot Lambert on your screen. And you need to say, okay, for my screen, I want it for so many hours. I want to be withstand this temperature, and I want so much buffer for my environmental conditions. And then you will end up with the lumens. So don't get fooled by simple lumens comparisons. It is outdated. Ask for more insight, what makes sense for you. There we go. So that was the case, and deep dive a little bit on one particular product of you're investing in a new projector. But okay, you're not in the blue space, you're not at the very beginning, you're not at the very end, you cannot trade it off, and you've invested in a lamp projector. So then there is a solution for you. You can give it a new life, and there's many reasons for doing so. So first of all, of course, you get your instant quality boost. You instantly get a laser. You get the laser benefits on your existing lamp machine. Now, the time space as to when this makes sense, again, depends on kind of similar factors as I have on the top right, why any investment would make sense, but typically the sweet spot is between 3 and 7 years for it economically still to make sense to get your investment back over the lifetime of your projector. Cost savings, of course, you get all these energy, lamp, and so on, cost savings. You'll optimize the lifetime of your investment, not only in terms of, you're just getting a light source in which lasts longer, but also laser puts less stress on the machine. It's less warm, there's less heat, it will last longer. You get some components out as well when you get the laser in. So the laser in, all the lamp components out, there's less components in there. So there's also several factors that will reduce your risk of failure over the long run. And there is a brightness boost. So basically the light sources that we have available, you can actually, from your xenon base, you can actually choose, depending on the case, a more bright option and actually get a kicker. So for example, get from a 2D to a 3D, or just get a higher brightness for your standard showings. So for all these reasons, this could make sense. So on the technology side, what does this mean? Well, it's the RGB light source. This is a 4th generation Appatronics light source. Beautiful technology. And it marries the RGB and the laser phosphor, the benefits of both. It has the RGB in terms of quality, in terms of longevity. It has the laser phosphor efficiency. Absolutely fantastic technology. It fits perfectly into the Series 2 machines. It does not have the fiber coupling. It just goes directly into the light pipe. And hence, it's also something you can, if you do the retrofit, which you can put under warranty. Better, brighter, all the laser benefits are there. It's better contrast. It gets up to 89.5% of Rec 2020. And like I said, you can get a kicker of brightness. You can pick a more potent light source and get a kicker on the brightness side. Lifetime, it's a light source for a machine for a full lifetime. So if you do it during the lifetime machine, you have ample lifetime to get the benefits out of it. And my last slide, it's extremely efficient. This light source is extremely efficient. It's 11.5 lumens to the watt, but in the combination with the existing Xenon machine, it makes it pretty much as efficient as the Series 4 on the whole system that I showed before. So what does that look like? Just some stats. This is a graph which is basically showing it on the 10 years, so just divided by 10 and the amount of hours you have in your head. But for the Xenon, if I look at it from an Indian perspective, for a 25,000 lumen, I take 30 cents, dollar cents to the kilowatt, which is just shy of 10 rupees, if my calculator was right. For how many hours did we do? 15 hours a day. So that costs you about 40,000. In Xenon, you can halve that with either a retrofit solution or with a Series 4. And let's say the closest in the industry is actually nowhere near this in terms of energy efficiency. And as the energy costs keep rising in India, that difference gap will get a lot bigger. I'm getting close here. So I've been chucking a lot of information your way, and probably too much, and there's only so much you can retain, and then if you have questions, come see us. Let me make it practical for you guys. I'm going to show you a couple of cases where it actually makes this practical and realistic. So if the people in the back could get the video ready, I'm going to show you something from Omniplex, which is the largest cinema chain in Ireland. They have about 200, 220 screens, and they've also chosen for one of these solutions. So if you could show the video, please.
My name is Mark Anderson. I am a director of Omniplex Cinema Group. What we want to achieve in Omniplex is to be able to present films in the way that the directors and producers of the films want their films to be reproduced on screen, with the best audio, the best picture image possible, and the best surroundings for our customers.
At Omniplex, we're always trying to give our customers the best experience when they go to the movies. And from a technical point of view, this is my aim to make sure that they get the best quality picture, the best quality sound. And laser has definitely added to this experience for customers, we feel. Economically, it was better to upgrade. The projectors we chose to upgrade were good projectors. They were still working. Some were only 5 years old, maybe.
We're familiar with Barco. They produce the best laser, the best technology. The fact that we can retrofit a laser light engine into our existing equipment means that there are major savings in a laser rollout, that we're not buying all new projectors, we're retrofitting just the light engine.
To be able to get rid of changing lamps for managers and staff is a real benefit for us. And that's what laser brings to us. The process was really easy for us. Each engineer had no problem on their own upgrading the projectors. We have a consistency of light from start to finish now. So before we didn't have this. We had light drop off from very high to very low. We have image quality, which is also consistent. We have reliability compared to Xenon. So there's no more lamp changes from an operational point of view. Ease of mind for managers. So managers find that they just come in, switch on the machine, and it all works.
Barco and Cinionic are critical partners in this, and Barco always have been in bringing us their new innovations, what their R&D are coming up with, and listening to us as customers and adapting their proposals according to the feedback that they get. Cinionic are very adaptive in that regard to make sure that they're getting their technology into cinemas and it's affordable for cinema operators to maintain that finger on the pulse of technology in order to keep cinema as a relevant form of entertainment.
In fact, it's been such a success that we're now looking at upgrading all our projectors to laser.
Thank you. The claps are for our marketing department. They did a great job, and it's actually mostly unscripted. It was really their words. This is an Irish case. I will present to you one Indian case as well, and we'll ask Raj to join me. Where is Raj? Oh, here he's back. Sorry, Raj. I'll hand him. So Raj Stadler from Device Cinemas. I'll let you explain in your words. You prefer the mic? Or?
Yeah, this is okay. This is good with me. Hi, everybody. I represent two cinema halls, single screens in Hyderabad. Yeah. I represent two cinema halls in Hyderabad, two single screens, and we've had around 1,400 seating capacity since 1975 and 1980. And around 2013, we upgraded ours to Xenon. Before that, it was a tough time. Xenon was a good solution for projection. And then the technology kept on improving, and the content was really competing. We had 3D movies, and Xenon probably was not able to keep up, the kind of lumen output, etc. And then it was around 6 years since we have installed our Xenon from Barco, and we were waiting for a solution, and then the laser retrofit was a godsend, timely. And it's been a month we have installed the laser retrofit onto the existing Xenon. It was like a breeze. The engineers came in and did it in like few hours, and then we were ready with no downtime. And then we saw the changeover. We were running a movie called Smart Shankar in Hyderabad in Telugu, and the perception of color and the depth of the images was far greater than the earlier projection. We've seen that actually a month ago, and as technically already narrated, the operation hassles are gone. It's a piece of cake now. For probably a few years, we have nothing to do with the projector. That's a very good solution. And then with respect to the investments, I mean the cost effectiveness, it was almost replacing the lamp cost, that's all. It was piece of cake actually. We had no other numerical working up to do actually. We were just like that. So I'm very happy with the laser retrofit model from Barco. It's been a month, and we thank Cinionic for the timely solution. Yep. Thank you, Nico.
No, thank you, Raj. Thank you very much. Yeah, and applause for Raj. So just to wrap things up, because I'm taking more time than I was allotted originally, but basically, if you take one thing away from it, there is a way to laser for you depending on where you are. Let us be your consultants. Let us guide you. We've got the experience. We've got the things in house. Let us be more than just a box seller. Let us do our thing. Come speak to us. We have our guys here. We have GDC. We have Cube. We have great partners here. And with that, we hope we will propel India, like the rest of the world, into the laser age. So thank you very much for your attention. And I think we may have time for maybe a question or two.
Do we have any questions, ladies and gentlemen? You can put it forth to Mr. Clercq here. Do we have any questions? Yes, I think we have one gentleman here with a question. Can we give him the mic, please? This side.
Nico, hi. This is Preetham from Harkness.
Hi.
Just a quick question. In terms of conversion of existing series to projectors versus the classic RGB projectors, what's the better option? Not looking from a cost perspective, but looking from more a quality of presentation perspective. Would you suggest someone go down the path of upgrading the light source, or would you say an RGB would stand out a lot better than the upgrade itself?
Well, it seems to always come back for some reason, RGB, and it's a bit of our own fault, always is in the mind as RGB better. RGB was the first technology we brought to market with the flagships, and that image quality, of course, it really pushes RGB to the very best performance. The RGB, we have our mainstream, again, is a mainstream performance, but this is like not what the flagship is. So there's different variations. Which is better? To be honest, both look beautiful. It's very much an appreciation thing, and it's I like to say it's one thing, but that's the hard thing of being a consultant. There's not one truth. It's just what makes sense for the customer, what he likes, what his budget is. The laser false, the RGB plus retrofits look absolutely beautiful. They really mandate a different experience. Would I say it's better? I like both, to be honest, and I'm not an engineer. I have a business eye. I can really appreciate both if they're done well. If take one thing away, I mean, RGB good, West bad, that's a false comparison. It's really, there's so much more things that come into play. You're from a Harkness, right? So the screen comes into play. There's so much many things, how the technology is investment. It's a whole thing together. Again, we've seen our exhibitor customers doing all sort of setups, combining with all sort of screens and coming to different conclusions depending what makes sense for them. All I can say, I can stand behind anything which is in the portfolio and be very proud of what's on screen. So it's not a single answer, I'm sorry, but it's not always as straightforward sometimes.
Thanks.
Do we have any other questions? Yes.
These Series 4 projector are 4K compliant, I understand. But in India, like the content is 2K, which is available. So will it make sense to buy this 4K compliant projectors because we don't have the software, the content to play in 4K?
Yes, excellent question. Well, 4K, there's two answers to that. First of all, 4K, it's a global projector. From a global perspective, the trend is 4K. People would also say that a 4K projector on non-4K content, actually, you would see the improvement. I cannot say on the 4K pipeline of Bollywood, do we say how much, sorry, I cannot just say Bollywood, Indian content in general, disrespect of all the different movie houses. But yes, it does make sense. It really does look better. The interpixel stuff, it does it work. It does not do the same thing as with the full 4K content, obviously, but it actually does make a difference versus 2K, yes. And again, there's also a future-proofness of it. We looked at the timeline here. We're talking 10 years. A lot of things can happen in 10 years. A lot of technology shifts can happen. So, again, not one right answer. There's a certain premium to be paid versus 4K. It depends on how future-proof you want to be, if you appreciate the 4K image versus the 2K image. I'm always going to give very complex answers, guys. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I hope it addressed at least some of your concern.
We'll take one last question, please. Yes.
So this is Venkatesh from Woodlands Theatre, Chennai.
Hi.
So we installed this phosphorus projector on Barco retrofitting on November 1st. So as on today, about 2,963 hours have passed. Now we have brought this RGB. Is it possible to upgrade the phosphorus to RGB?
Well, we would have to look at your specific. It's definitely technically possible. But I must say, in terms of business case, it would make sense. So I would have to look. I'm not sure who's been doing the implementation. It's definitely technically possible. I mean, it's a light source. Whether it makes sense for your business case, I would suggest we talk offline because, of course, I don't know what the agreement is with whoever installed it, of course. Technically, it's possible, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Clercq, I request you to please remain with us on stage. May I please invite the beautiful Mrs. Asha Ranjit from Big Cine Expo to kindly felicitate Mr. Clercq with a thank you memento from Big Cine Expo and a special gift from Harman. If we can have the both of you in the center of the stage, please. Thank you, Mr. Clercq. It was so interesting to grasp all the insights that you had to share today.